Attention crew, this is your Captain Caliban speaking. Welcome to the first ever episode, live episode of Star Trek Discoverage, our Star Trek Discovery recap show. And we have quite a show for you. I'm very excited to have two very special guests on the show. First of all, we have author Dave Galanter. He's specifically the author of the TOS novel Troublesome Minds. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And second but not least, equal in fact, we have Ella Pearson, who is one half of the hosting team of the Generations Geek podcast, which is...
I don't know about equal, but I'm just as excited to be here.
Generations Geek is a podcast on the Chronic Rift Network. It's a family-friendly celebration of geekdom by a father and daughter duo. Hi, Ella. How you doing?
I'm good.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys, so much for joining me. And we're going to talk about Star Trek Discovery, which, of course, the two-part premiere has premiered on CBS All Access. And that's what we're talking about today. First, Dave, I had a question for you.
Sure.
I think it's safe to say that Spock and the TOS crew are big parts of your novel, Troublesome Minds. What's it like to get a chance to add to the stories of these storied characters? I mean, I feel like it would be intimidating.
Probably the first time it was intimidating, but now it's just an honor.
Sure.
I love writing for these heroes. I feel that they're heroes, and it's in fact one of the things that I could see even in the trailer for Star Trek Discovery is that these people are trying to be heroes.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's obviously it's a not just an honor, but a thrill.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great Trek novels from every time period, and, you know, the shows don't cover everything, so often details, both big and small, are added to the backstories of characters like Kirk and Spock and so on, and they become like beta canon. But then their new shows come out, or the shows catch up to stuff, and oftentimes things get overwritten by the alpha canon of what's on screen. Have you ever had something that you came up with that you thought was really cool or inventive that sadly had to get dropped or superseded by alpha canon?
I was actually in the middle of writing a Next Generation novel, and had to rewrite half of it because Nemesis was coming out, and it was dealing with Romulans too.
Yeah,
and I had to drop a whole subplot, which made book 2 not as good or as interesting. But you know, I get that it's tie-in media. I work for them, and that was not. Although it was some wasted work. I'd still do it to play in their playground, so it's not that big of a deal. Although I will tell you this, I've come to despise the concept of canon. I have no problem with I have no problem with continuity.
Sure,
I like continuity.
Sure,
but canon. I've said this before. I leave all questions of canon to Captain James R. Kirk of the United Earth Space Probe Agency.
Right.
Because canon is alone.
Yeah, I agree with you. Although canon, I think, is a big part of Discovery, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Ella, I had a question for you. Thanks for being so patient. You are, like I said before, one half of Generations Geek with your dad, Scott Pearson, who's a Trek novelist and a novelist in his own right. And I know that Scott is... in a way, he's sort of working on some of the ancillary materials for the show, and therefore, he knows things about the show. But of course, he's under an NDA, like everybody I seem to know, and so he knows stuff that you can't know. You guys ostensibly share the same circles. How frustrating is that for you?
It's frustrating. I mean, I understand, but what mostly happens is I yell and he just laughs at me.
I see.
So,
I see.
Yeah.
That's a bad situation. And you don't have any tricks at all that you can teach me to get things out of him.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't crack.
Well, I admire.
What's funny is we know, of course, the same people. And I've known Scott for quite a while. I know Dave Mack and Dayton Ward, who have written the first 2 tie-in novels.
Sure.
And I know Kirsten Beyer, who's actually a staff writer on the show.
That's right.
Woo!
I refuse to ask them. I wouldn't, for 2 reasons. One, they'd have to say no because they signed an agreement to say no, and I wouldn't want them to break an agreement.
Clearly.
And I wouldn't want them to feel bad. But also, I just want to see it develop.
Yeah, exactly.
The best homage to the actors and to the writers and producers and everything is to let them show their work as opposed to me finding out secrets. So I just want to see it happen.
Yeah, I feel similar. Ella, you too?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one of the things that, in my capacity as an amateur journalist, I have to keep up on the trailers and know what the episode titles are before the show comes out. And I don't even like doing that. Like, I just tell me there's a show, and then 18 months later, just drop it in my lap, and I'd be totally happy. Well, we do have the show now. Star Trek Discovery has premiered the first 2 episodes, and I guess I wanted to find out from you guys, first of all, what were your feelings when it was announced that there would be a new show? Like, what did you think about Star Trek returning to TV?
You go first, Ella.
It's very kind.
I mean, I was excited. I'm almost 20, so I've never watched a Star Trek series like unfold in front of me like this. Like, I've never had to wait week by week. I've always just been able to like hit play on like a DVD or like go on Netflix and just binge whatever I want or watch whatever I want to watch. I've never had to wait. Yeah.
That's why I'm really interested in your opinion, because it's on demand for you. When you were growing up, like, what was the first Star Trek series that you really interfaced with?
I think that would have been the animated series.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that first.
Uncommon
How old were you, Ella, for that?
Really young, 4.
Okay, I'm just getting my 6-year-old niece into the animated series.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
She loves it.
What about you? Dave?
I'm almost 48.
We don't have to give our ages.
So actually, I just because she said she was almost 20. And actually, I guess the first series I saw unfold on a week-to-week basis was Next Generation. And people were saying, "Boy, if this pilot episode, this first episode of Discovery is not great, then it's the show is ruined." Okay, the first episode of Encounter at Farpoint, or of Next Generation Encounter at Farpoint, was pretty horrible on many levels. And in fact, the first season was not great on many levels.
Yeah.
Although it found its legs. I assume Discovery is going to find its legs too, but I think we're off to a fantastic start. I was immediately blown away by, 1, how cinematic it is, 2, the acting is top notch, and we are actually getting backstory, it would seem, in these first 2 episodes of how the rest of this season is going to go. And if that's not, sort of novelty, I don't know what it is, because we're learning what these people are thinking.
Right, exactly. It's funny you mentioned Farpoint, because I think I was. You know what? I'm not going to give my age. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, I was. I was probably in between you two somewhere, and I remember seeing Farpoint as a kid, and I don't think that I had maybe the writer's instinct or the seasoning to know that it wasn't good necessarily, but to me it did at least feel like the original series in a lot of ways. Maybe not the best ways.
Kelly was in it.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he definitely was there as a connector. But so, yeah, I mean, it had room to grow for sure, and this show does as well. But let's start talking about it. Let's get into it. And I want to warn our audience that we are in the spoiler sector, so there will definitely be spoilers. We are going to talk fully about the first 2 episodes of the show. And I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you guys is one of the first things we see. What did you think about the theme, Ella? How did you think the theme compared to other themes on other shows?
You're talking about the opening?
Yeah, the opening and the musical theme, yeah.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I heard so many, I could be making this up, but I was really feeling like I was hearing like bits of the TOS theme. I really felt like it called out all the, the good bits from TOS at least. Sure. I don't know about any of the other shows. I don't remember the other theme songs.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
No, I don't think I could. Like, if I watched it or if I heard it, I think I would name it. But
yeah,
I don't know. Just in these little, hints.
David, are the themes important to you?
No. Yes and no. I mean, I like it when it's a good theme. My problem, if I had a problem with certain Enterprise episodes, it wasn't because of the theme song, which actually I kind of really didn't dislike. I know a lot of people did, but I kind of liked it.
You're speaking,
I
of course,
especially liked
of Faith
Star
of the
Trek
Heart.
Enterprise.
Yes, of course.
Faith of the Heart.
Yes.
I don't know who it's by. I'm not good with music. But I especially liked the visuals that went with Star Trek Enterprise. And I loved the visuals of this, which looked like almost sort of Da Vinci-ish, artistic sort of designs. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I think that I can see the logical reason, logic, we'll get back to that, as to why they did it, because if you were going to, like, for instance, Enterprise is about the, reach of man to discover and go to the stars. And Discovery, this is like except for Enterprise, is like, the first show in this timeline. What do you put in there? What images do you have in there? Like, what backstory? We're starting this story right here. This is the origin of so many things. And
they're also restarting the visual look too.
And exactly. Yes, exactly. So we see those elements all come together.
Right. How they're building the visual look. Which, by the way, I noticed that the communicator in this is so geeky. The communicator in the opening theme is the classic Trek communicator, as opposed to the ones that they're using on the show. I thought that was interesting. That.
Right.
I notice weird details sometimes like that.
Good eye for detail. Well, let's talk about the main character of our series, Commander Michael Burnham, who it's revealed... well, actually, you know what? Let's back up a little bit. I wanted to ask you guys, in watching some of the promotional material and seeing some of the trailers and hearing about stuff, were you like me? Did you feel like you kind of understood the beats of the first two premiere episodes for the most part, or did anything really surprise you?
A couple of things surprised me.
Sure.
Her line about I'm trying to save you, I'm trying to save you all, whichever the line was.
Okay.
I did not realize that was about her own crew.
Oh, okay.
And that surprised me.
I see. Ella,
because I was figuring she was trying to explain it to someone else.
Okay, I see what you mean, but it was directly, to who she was trying to save. Ella, what about you?
I was definitely surprised by that, and then I didn't know what to expect from her character, knowing that she was a human that somehow grew up on Vulcan, and so hearing her state what's most important to her, and hearing her say, like, I put your lives ahead of Starfleet's principles, like, what's wrong with that? Like, I wanted to save you. Hearing her logic there, I was surprised, but, like, I'm into it.
Well, also, that was essentially the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yeah, right.
Without actually calling back to the specific line. Thank God they didn't.
No, they found a new way to attack.
But that's the essential concept.
Right.
What also surprised me was, because I'm a sucker apparently. I thought there were really going to be two ships, and we would end up seeing Captain Georgiou again, and apparently not.
Yeah,
unless it's in flashback.
Well, yeah, when she shows up as special guest star in the opening credits, I was like, oh boy, there we go.
Well, see, I thought she would be maybe in like 4 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Which, by the way, love the reality of Burnham having to essentially pay for her crimes.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to me from did you guys see the coming this season thing?
Only a second of it.
Okay. It seems to me that maybe the captain of the Discovery is building sort of like a Dirty Dozen kind of a team or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly, but he needs special people, and so he's bringing her on.
That's something that really surprised me, because I feel like after having seen the pilot, both parts, that I feel like I did get all those story points. What I didn't really anticipate was how far Michael Burnham would go. I think I knew that she would accidentally or maybe intentionally cause this conflict, but the fact that she goes as far as she did really surprised me. And then also seeing, well, how does she get to the Discovery? And then, like you said in that little preview of things to come, it does. Suddenly we switch to another genre, and it's like a Dirty Dozen, type movie where we're putting all these sort of rejects together on this ragtag ship, which is another thing that we haven't really seen on Star Trek before. Yes
and no. I'm pretty sure that on Voyager,
Janeway
pulled Paris from some sort of.
Oh yeah.
It's a ship full of Parises.
Yeah, well, see, I don't think all of them are, but I think they're bringing some sort of specialized, skilled people, I guess, to fight this war. I don't know; it's not clear yet, but
Right.
it should be interesting.
Yeah. I want to know what you guys think specifically about Michael Burnham and also her depiction by Sonequa Martin Green. I felt that the character, and let me get all the way through this. I felt the character, I didn't like her at all, but as the I heard that as the show goes on, I started to realize I'm not supposed to like her, at least not now. Some of the actions that she takes and things that she does make me say, oh boy, I think they're really digging a hole for this character, which is going to be hard to get her out of. But if this is the story of Discovery, at least this first season, is the story of her redemption and sort of transformation into a hero, or at least, redeeming herself into a different figure, I'm all on board. But like they say on the show, that's going to be a high risk maneuver to sort of pull off from a storytelling perspective. Dave, do you want to comment on that? Give Ella time to breathe.
Okay. I think you're wrong. And then you can't really be wrong about your opinion of liking a character or not.
Sure.
I like her because she is complex.
Yeah.
She is determined in a way that breeds conflict, and conflict is drama.
Sure.
Also, I really liked Captain Georgiou, and is that how you pronounce it?
Georgiou, yeah.
I hope so. Okay. And I loved seeing them together. It immediately informed me of the relationship and how the captain runs her ship and all of this. And I especially liked her in those moments. And then you sort of see why the captain sort of tugs at her and is a little sarcastic and jokes with her, because you see that 7 years previously she was practically a Vulcan.
Yeah,
in her mannerisms, growing up a lot on Vulcan.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me. You had Spock, who was trying to always be very Vulcan. And then you had Data in The Next Generation, who was trying to be very human. And it seems to me that Michael Burnham is trying to be herself in a way that's, I think, going to be very interesting and very complex. Sure. And if I had to make a guess, I think we're seeing the building of a starship captain. And I don't know if they'll get to it in season 2 or season 3, right. But I think eventually it's not going to be about Commander Michael Burnham. It's going to be about Captain Michael Burnham.
Sure.
And that fascinates me.
Ella, what about you?
Yeah, I see what you mean about not liking her. I love her. Her being complex is super great, and I love what Dave said about her trying to be herself and not just trying to be Vulcan or just trying to be human. But what I was surprised about, or another thing that I was surprised about by her character, is how aggressive she was. And I can see why you wouldn't really be drawn to her, because she was manipulative. I mean, she was like, oh, I see that I've made a mistake, just to, get her captain to relax. And then she immediately, physically assaulted her
well,
so that she could take over the ship.
It's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I'm taking notes like a crazy person in a notebook. And I was writing down, who does this? Why is this happening? And then for her, I mean, even before she went to that length, she was like, you need to listen to me right now. You cannot do this. She was very assertive.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, Janeway is assertive, but Janeway's the captain.
Sure. And
that her job is to be assertive.
Yeah, and Janeway is seasoned as well. I'm not saying that she should be thrown off the ship. I'm just saying at this point, I can see she makes mistakes, and it's oh, come on, Picard wouldn't have done that, Riker wouldn't have done that. But I agree with both of
good.
you. Well, no, yeah, I agree with both of you that it's complex in that she's being built up to this stuff. Like if you look back from the episode where we see Captain Picard as a young guy, Johnny Picard, I wouldn't want to hang out with Johnny Picard. He sounds like a jerk. But he does turn into Captain Picard. And I think that you guys are right in saying that instead of just hearing about how I was bad before, we're now seeing a character that will start that way and will hopefully build up into, like you said, Dave, Captain.
And I'm so impressed that she actually got she paid the price.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very end of the episode, which, by the way, court-martial trial rooms, I think they need to be better lit.
Sure.
I was going to say the lighting.
Some chairs or, yeah.
the lighting was very cinematic, but kind of silly.
Right. And she didn't have any representation either, which seems kind of bad.
Well, they were passing, it was the last, do you have anything to say?
Sure. Oh, this was the sentencing hearing. I got it. Yeah.
Also, she pled guilty.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
if you plead guilty, you're pretty much, you don't really need a lawyer.
Got it.
From the Judge Advocate General's office.
Shoot her into space. We got it. What did you guys think about the design and the look of the show? Ella, what'd you think?
I like it. It's pulling me away a little bit from seeing the original series parts in it because the holograms.
Yeah.
Were really kind of screwing with me because it was making me feel like this was much farther in the future.
Right.
When it's, it's 10 years prior to TOS.
Yeah, I actually really liked that part. I mean, you're right, it doesn't make any sense in terms of
they're gorgeous, but yeah.
Yeah, in their technological development, but I liked how practical they were because they're great for communication. And I think we do see those in DS9 or Voyager, but there's the point where the Admiral isn't quite there. Or no, his ship shows up, and then he just holograms onto the bridge, and now he's just commanding her ship. Basically, he's just
no, he was commanding his.
Right, yeah, right. But he's basically just gets to walk onto her bridge and then kind of start doing that too.
No, but when he was ordering someone, he was ordering the people around him, not her crew.
Right, but I'm just saying, as he appears and entreats the Klingons,
he's
I
also see. Okay,
yeah. Whereas usually it's we've got the Admiral coming on board. Well, now he's just on board. Dave, what about?
I liked all that.
Yeah,
I did. I actually said this today on a Facebook post because I was annoyed. There were people who really just they had released the theme in the opening titles earlier online, and I was seeing people hate it. And they say, I hate this show. I hate the design of everything. I hate the ship. I hate how it looks. If this is what you're looking for exclusively in a drama, I don't get you. Because I write books where mostly I don't even describe the stuff.
Right.
Because you already know it. It's tie-in media. I don't have to describe what the costumes look like. You know what the costumes look like.
Yeah.
In your head, you should be able to see whatever costumes you want. It shouldn't affect what you're reading on the page. I don't care how I'd like it to look nice. To me, it looks nice, but it doesn't draw me out of it that it's not, painted plywood with a mid-century modern sort of look to it.
Right.
I think it looks excellent. I, by the way, think I've seen James Cawley's Star Trek set tour of the original sets.
Oh, right.
They look awesome, too. Which, by the way, I did like that there were buttons in this as well as switches. And as well as touchscreens. The truth is that if they want to show this to a modern audience and bring in people who aren't Star Trek fans, you can't have it look like it's the 1950s version of the future. You have to make it our version of the future. And I promise you, 30 or 40 years from now, somebody's going to watch this show and say, they thought 200 years from now would look like that? That was 15 years ago we had all that stuff.
Right.
So, there's no way to win this battle.
I agree. I think that it looked great. I think that it was a really great, because like you said, you can't really go backwards in terms of a visual style and a visual medium, but I felt like it was a good sort of synthesis between what we know of Trek on TV and the stylish J.J. Abrams Trek as well. Like there wasn't really any lens flares or anything like that. It had sort of a darker sort of look, and I think it really fit. I mean, I'm comfortable with it.
The only thing I didn't like about J.J. Abrams' look for his movies was I thought engineering looked silly. But, other than that, I didn't really have a problem with his bridge, except for constant, laser lens flares and things like that.
Right? Yeah.
Because it would be annoying to people on the bridge if there were LED lights.
I know.
Shining every which way. So I don't get that as an aesthetic. But.
And there's a plot point in these episodes where everybody's blinded by a bright light, and I have to wonder if the production is self-aware enough to have been doing a thing.
Maybe.
Oh my god.
Which, by the way, I liked all of that. I'll tell you, I thought the drama beats in both episodes were really spot on. It was moving, and I was into, I think, the second of the two episodes, and I just paused it so I could see how much time was left, and there was 10 minutes left, and I'm like, baloney, we just started this. What are you talking about? I don't want this to be over. I want more episodes right now.
Yeah.
I would have sat here all night, probably into the morning, watching the rest of the series if it was all available now.
Ella, what did you think about the pacing?
I thought it was good. It definitely went by fast.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised where they cut the first episode, like the ending.
Yeah.
Like I did not expect, like I expected a resolution from that first episode, and then to have this big battle over two. I mean, it was good. I think it was good, but
it was a cliffhanger.
I don't know, I'm surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like I said, it went by so fast. I feel like I've seen so little.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean, like so much stuff happened, but I need like more.
Yeah. And the way that
it looks like a movie, but it was, 80, 85 minutes, something like that,
Sure.
all told. And I think the problem is you're saying, boy, that was a short movie.
Yeah, we're right. Exactly. It's constructed like a movie, but then it comes up a little bit short in that. But something that I noticed when I was watching the sort of outro or the tease of things to come is that I enjoyed this intense 85-minute, 90-minute sort of movie story, but I was really, and I know this is going to be serial throughout the first season here, but you see them in sort of different environments and you get the hints that, they're going to go to different planets and there's going to be standalone stories probably. And I felt myself really, I know this is the grand experiment to like do a serial Trek thing, but I kind of want that sort of episodic kind of content too. Go to this planet, deal with this.
Well, I think you can have chapters in a novel, which is essentially how they're describing this, that have, different settings and all of that. I will say that I don't know how much of an experiment it is. I guess it's an experiment for Star Trek.
Well, for Star Trek, certainly.
This is the way that a lot of shows have been, whether they are, the Marvel shows on Netflix or Game of Thrones or any of those sort of season-long arcs. So it's not new. Star Trek is playing a little bit of catch-up in a way.
Right.
I think they're off to a great start. To be honest with you, I like it more than Game of Thrones.
Okay. Well, there you go.
And I like Game of Thrones a lot.
Wow, I'm shook.
Ella, Game of Thrones versus Star Trek Discovery?
Okay, listen, Game of Thrones is ahead by like a full 7 seasons.
That's true. Yeah, that's totally true.
I don't want to do any comparisons.
6 years, or actually more than that, from now, and we're in season 7 of a serialized Star Trek Discovery. Who wins?
I mean, I think I have to say Star Trek. How can I not say Star Trek?
Yeah. I'd ask you guys to speculate, if you could, if this is going to go on for a long time and we're going to continue to follow this character or these characters, where do you think the show can go from here? At the very beginning.
I personally think, like I say, that she's going to eventually get to captain. Although, again, also, how interesting would it be for your main character to never get to captain because she's flawed? That might be very interesting too. They've hinted that that Captain Lorca is not the warmest and cuddliest guy,
right?
And might have some issues. or a subscription. And I honestly, after the first, one of the problems for me, although I've written Next Generation in books and I come to really love Next Generation, early on they had some conflict written into the Bible that they immediately stopped doing. Riker had some problems in the Bible with Data, and literally they wiped that out of existence in the first episode in like 15 seconds.
Okay.
And then they brought the doctor who replaced Crusher, blocking on her name. Pulaski basically had the same sort of issue for an entire season with Data, but because we already really liked Data, we were not suspicious of him, and we just didn't like her because she was suspicious of him.
Right. Yeah.
So to bring this character on, and maybe he's kind of a jerk for the whole thing, and we can all see that point of view. I'm just excited to see that sort of human conflict and personal interest that it seems like they're going to be playing out.
Yeah, I hope so. Ella, what about you? Any characters you're looking forward to?
I'm mostly looking forward to Burnham, honestly. I'm a little worried just because I'm worried that everyone on the ship is trying to take away like what she's learned from Sarek and what she's learned from the culture on Vulcan. The way her captain immediately went for that part of her identity, like attacked her about it and was saying how she's been trying to get her to be more human for years and years. I was kind of like, why do you need to do that, though?
Right, yeah.
That seems a little, like, aggressive.
In case she accidentally starts a war with the Klingons, that's why.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, it seemed to me that's what Sarek had sort of wanted. It seemed to me that, and especially in their little, not 1,000 light year mind meld thing, that he sort of indicated maybe that was one of his failings, that he was... I'm just going to cross this with Spock now. He was probably overly wanting Spock to push his human side away, and he unfortunately also did that with an actual full human, and maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah, he said he failed her by not boosting her self-esteem, and I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, not only is that very Sarek from what we know about Sarek, but damn, isn't that a lot of fathers?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Thankfully not my father, but there's a lot of...
No.
I didn't want people to think, oh, Dave had a problem with his father. No. My father was really, he's still alive. He's a very sweet little man. But people shrink as they get old. He's 87. The thing is that I can see a lot of people wanting to hear that from their father, and he's sort of been her father.
Yeah. And it seems like her relationship between her father, both her surrogate father and her surrogate mother, are a big part of her, the reason that she makes the actions that she does.
Doesn't this inform Spock's relationship with his father?
It does kind of tell you something about Spock. It does.
Here, you like this actual human better than you like me.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't actually say that, but maybe there's like a tone there, an undertone.
It's possible, yeah. And then on the other side of the conflict, we have the people we haven't talked about yet, the Klingons. You've got a character that basically is fatherless and is trying to establish something for himself and establish a direction for his people. What do you guys think of the new Klingons? Ella?
I'm confused.
Do tell.
So the ship that they're on is like it's a religion, it's a cult, it's the Empire trying to recover.
That's these are all good questions, and I'm not sure the show has answered just yet. But the thrust seems to be that he's trying to unite these 24 houses. Yeah. And I don't I'm not really up on my post Enterprise pre TOS Klingon civics, but
yeah,
it seems
me neither.
But it seems that the Empire is sort of scattered, and he's trying to unite it under this banner, which he seems to do a pretty good job of at the end of the episode.
I would have liked a smooth-headed Klingon among the 24 representatives.
Where they're
although
showing
there
the
seem to be fewer than those.
lineup. Yeah, right.
Although maybe this informs of something about Klingon politics of the time, where the smooth-headed Klingons are sort of not accepted onto the Klingon High Council and things like that because they have this virus. I don't think that that Discovery is going to break the continuity. In fact, I would assume that it's going to end up being part of it. But yeah, I agree with Ella. I'm not sure if it's a religion or a cult of personality or what exactly it is, other than their armor is dead people sarcophagi.
Right. Yeah.
That's how you say it. So it's all a little weird and sort of mystical, but the Klingons were in the original series, twirly mustache, I'm going to tie someone to the train track sort of bad guys, without much depth. And certainly Next Generation added more depth, and DS9 added more depth as well.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're getting some real depth too here. So.
Yeah, the depth is what impressed me, and it was clear that they really thought through the designs. The one sort of complaint that I would have is I was impressed that they spent so much time on the Klingon ship and they were committed to showing these characters. I wish that maybe
they spoke in Klingon.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Subtitles. They didn't go to English.
But I wish maybe they just pulled back a little bit on the makeup, because I think it made it hard. You didn't get a lot of expression, and the actors were kind of buried under all the makeup. And if they
I was noticing that too.
Yeah, I mean, if they I think it's great that they wanted to put so much drama in their hands. I just wish that I could sort of feel for them a little more, because they got these big rubber faces on, which look cool.
I noticed they couldn't talk around their teeth.
Yeah, their teeth were huge. Yeah, I know.
Although it's interestingly enough, when they were speaking English, because it was the universal translator doing it for them,
right,
that problem didn't exist. So I wonder if it's not sort of a Klingon accent that we're supposed to hear or something.
Oh, I see. That is a great theory.
I honestly don't know, but that's just what popped into my head as I was watching it. I will say this about the Klingon garb, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And the holograms I couldn't see very closely, but it seems to me that the stuff that they're wearing on that one ship that we were on is very ritualized.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's that we're not going to see the Klingon warrior stuff that we're used to, or some form of it. But obviously this ship, well, actually they destroyed part of the ship. It's obviously very special, quote unquote.
Right. This is their Sunday best.
Yes. And also, I mean, you look at how anybody in a ritualized sort of religion-y way, I mean, nobody dresses like the Pope.
Right. There was one guy who was I called him the real fancy Klingon. He had that whole gold thing going on. He looked pretty good.
Wasn't that Tecumseh?
Well, Tecumseh did, yeah. But there was one guy that was a lot of their costumes had contrast, and there was one guy that was had white background and gold things, and he just looked kind of like the David Bowie clown character to me a little bit. Still cool and fierce.
Did anybody think that both Georgiou and Tecumseh were going to buy it in the first two episodes?
Yeah, I know. The body count was pretty high in this.
I did not think that who seems to be your head bad guy and who you think is going to sort of be your head captain good guy,
right,
would both be gone.
Yeah.
Well, and right after they were talking about not making him a martyr.
Right. Well,
yeah, that's a good point.
You guys like the fallibility of Michael Burnham, and so here we are. It's okay, remember, don't kill him. Blam. Oh, crap. But still, that was surprising, and I guess that's a question that I really want to ask the guests each week. Lieutenant Saru is a Kelpian, and they are designed to sense the approach of death. So, who do you think will be the next person to buy it?
Go ahead, Ella.
Ella, what do you think?
I'm overwhelmed by this question. I have no idea.
I don't think you know most of the characters yet.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll tell you this: he was not designed that way. What he basically explained was, he said, on his planet, you're either predator or prey,
right?
And his particular species is prey, and one of the ways that they've just survived is by able to there's something in their makeup that, sort of allows, they have a spidey sense almost, it seems.
Right.
And so I was not getting that somebody actually designed them.
Well, he was
like
designed.
like they were scientists, and that's why he's on the ship. Or
But
something
no,
like
by
that.
natural selection, he was quote unquote designed. He was intelligently designed. That's another show. Well, as we wrap up, I wanted to know from both of you if you had a favorite moment or a character, something that really stood out for you. Ella, why don't you tell us?
My favorite moment was anytime Burnham had Spock's signature sass.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
I like that. I think that's a good one. Oddly enough, my favorite part was anytime she did the Vulcan neck pinch. So I thought that was mainly because it's something Kirk couldn't do. In one of the original episodes, Kirk said, "I really wish you'd teach me that," or something like that. And Spock says, "I have tried, Captain."
I have tried. Right, yeah.
Maybe you got to grow up on Vulcan for that to work.
I guess so. I think, though, Captain Picard does it once.
Yes, I think he... no, Data does it.
Well, Data does it, but I think Captain Picard does it on the Die Hard on a Ship episode. I can't remember the title. But then, of course, you've got the excuse that he does have part of Sarek's Katra, so...
Oh, okay.
Just like
I don't
Burnham.
remember that.
Technical stuff.
I remember the episode. I don't remember him doing it.
My favorite part... It's probably not my favorite part, but it's a part I liked. I liked Ensign Daft Punk. Didn't really get their name, but like...
I know!
there's just like a robot face person for some reason.
I wrote down robot head.
Right, yeah.
The second I saw it.
It's as far as doing imaginative things from a design perspective. Yeah, more of that. Sure, why not? Go for it.
And apparently the helmet, whatever that is, actually has red alert symbols coming up. Which,
right.
by the way, were the red... It looked to me like the red alert thing insert animated thing from The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a nice little reference. Sure.
By the way, nice of them, by the way. A lot of the sounds were totally out of original Star Trek, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
The bridge sounds and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the squeaky doors and everything. If you had to...
The sonar ping and all of that.
Right, yeah. If you had to pick something that was had room for improvement, what do you think it would be? Dave?
Oh, boy. That's a good one. I'd like longer episodes. It's not on... I understand budget concerns and everything like that, but this is not on broadcast TV, so I feel it can go over... the 42, 43, 44-minute standard. And they said that some of them will go up to like 50 minutes.
Okay.
Give me one that's an hour and 12 minutes.
Right, yeah. Run over a little bit, sure.
Game of Thrones does it. Doctor Who does it. I need more of this.
Sure. Ella, what could they fix out of the starting gate?
I'm right there with the longer episodes, but to be honest, I wanted more of Burnham escaping her, escaping the brig.
Oh, okay.
We know what was left of the brig, because we get that one. She convinces the computer, which that ethics stuff with the computer was hilarious. But she finally convinces the computer.
By the way, to convince a computer.
It's very Kirk. Yeah. Yes, she talks the computer into it.
And she shoots into space, and then 10 minutes later, she has the reunion with her crew. But I wanted to see her getting the wind knocked out of her, hitting the other side of the ship, and
Sure.
It was something crazy that was over in just 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think that if I had to compliment the show, I think that it would be that, just like showing the Vulcan neck pinch without anybody really explaining what that was, it trusts its audience. It knows that.
Yeah.
It knows who's watching this. Sure, there's new people, but there's old people, and we've seen a character fly through the air and hit a wall, or go through vacuum like that. So it's like, what's happening here. The real thing that we're seeing in that scene is we're seeing her apply her Vulcan logic, to solve this problem and talk to the computer.
Well, the truth is, one of the things the original Star Trek didn't do is over-explain stuff that didn't need to be over-explained. And I'm going to call out Ella's dad here, because he was copy editing my last Star Trek book, and I took, by the way, 99% of his notes, because he's awesome and he was fun to work with. But there was one where he said, "Do you want to explain this a little more?" And I chatted to him online, and I said, "No, I don't. I would if it were next iteration, but for the original series, it just doesn't need to be explained that much.
Okay.
And he said, oh, okay.
Well,
I don't want them over explaining.
Yeah, and it looks like they're taking that idea in the new series here. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for joining us, and I wanted to thank the listeners for joining us. I want to remind the listeners that they can tune in next week at 8:30 Central for our coverage of the next episode. And I didn't even say the titles. If people don't know, they should. They watch the episodes. But, of course, it was The Vulcan Hello and The Battle of the Binary Stars. And next week we'll be covering Context is for Kings, the third episode of Star Trek Discovery. In the meantime, you can tweet at us at EISTpod. And when you do, use the hashtag Discoverage. If you want to give us your thoughts about the show, and if you want to ask any questions for us to cover next time on the show. Dave and Ella, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
It was fun. And that's it for us. This is your Captain Caliban signing off and saying live long and prosper.